Jason Manford.
Sheffield! Yes! We're here! We made it! We made it! God bless you! Come on! Come on in! It's been 3 years, what's 5 minutes? It doesn't matter! We're here, finally! Who'd have thought this show would ever have happened? You must have bought these tickets 2.5 years ago. I was thinking about this today. I was thinking there must be some people in here tonight who, when you bought these tickets, you were actually with somebody else at the time. Right? It's been a stressful couple of years. You've moved on. You're with somebody else now. So if you're sat there tonight and you only got invited in the last couple of months, you got to know you're in somebody else's seat, my friend, OK? Just don't let that ruin your night. Don't let that ruin your night. So nice to be here in Sheffield. Filming the show in Sheffield, ladies and gentlemen. This feels very special. I'm very, very much looking forward to this. Let me answer a question at the top of the show, because I know you're thinking it. It's the way British people think when they come out. You might have thought it today. You might have said it out loud to someone you're with. You might even be thinking it right now as you're sat there. You're thinking, Jason, what time will this show be finished? Right? I know. It's not a negative. It's not because you don't want to be here. It's not because you're not fun. We're some of the funniest people in the world. But we have more fun if we know there's a definite end to the fun. We do not like open-ended fun in this country. So, we'll have a laugh, we'll have a chuckle, we'll have a sing, we'll have a dance, we might even have a rave. Yeah. Anything can happen in Sheffield midweek. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, but we will be done for about 9:45. If you're over 40, don't even pretend that you didn't just get a little whoosh of excitement at the idea of being out of here before 10 o'clock. You're like, woo! We'll be home for 20 past. Yes! That's a result. It was very odd, I must say. Being forced to postpone a tour and then not gigging for sort of 2 years or so was really weird. And it reminded me what it was like when you first start stand-up comedy. Because when you first start stand-up, you actually only need 7 minutes of material. You don't need to keep people entertained till 9:45. 7 minutes will do you. And when I first started, I was 17 years old when I first started stand-up. So this is 1998. So I rock up to our main comedy club in the city centre of Manchester, right? The Frog and Bucket Comedy Club. Some of you may have been over there. It's a brilliant comedy club. It's been there for over 40 years. You know, one of those proper old-school British night out, you know, your feet stick to the dance floor there. There's real cask ale behind the bar. Someone's getting fingered by the bins in the car park. You know, it's that sort of vibe. You know what I'm talking about, Sheffield. Don't pretend you're too posh. I like to just put that joke in early on because it does divide the room a little bit into people who've seen me before and people who've only ever seen me on The Masked Singer and hosting the Royal Variety performance. This is where some people are looking at me like, whoa, Jace, bloody, I brought me mum. Don't you worry about it. Have a little look at your mum there. She's sat there. What are you laughing at jokes like that for? Don't you worry about me. I was getting fingered in 1964. You didn't invent fingering. How do you think you got here? So... Definitely don't look at your mum now. That is not an image you need. So, anyway, I was just trying to warm you up there, as it were. Now, that's the last one, promise, that's the last one. So I rock up, 17, I rock up to the Frog and Bucket, and I've got my 7 minutes of material, and I'm happy, I'm looking forward to it, I'm feeling pretty confident. And when I go in there, the producer of the show, she comes out, she says, right, everybody, when you go on stage tonight, we don't want you to do any more or any less than the 10 minutes that we've asked you to do. And my blood ran cold, because let me tell you, 3 minutes of nothing is a long time in the world of stand-up. And I'm panicking, I'm spinning out, what am I going to do? And then a more experienced comic spots me, says, Jason, don't worry about it. Little tip of the trade. Now, you're not allowed to use other comedians' material. That's frowned upon. You'll be ostracised from the circuit. But what you can do is there's like old jokes that don't belong to anybody. Jokes from the old circuit, jokes your dad tells down the pub, your mum tells in the staff room. Tell a few of them and you'll be golden. I thought, great, that's exactly what I'll do. So I rang my dad. I said, Dad, I need some jokes for tonight. He gave me 7 or 8. Every one of them an absolute beauty. I thought, OK, I'm feeling confident now. So I'm on first, which is always the hardest spot, and I'm backstage, stood waiting to go on. There's no dressing rooms like here at City Hall, at the Frog and Bucket. You just have to wait in a kitchen, little tiny kitchenette here. There's a fella next to you cooking curly fries. Like Are you nervous? No, I've cooked them loads of times. Piece of piss. Straight out of the freezer. And I know you'll appreciate this. Good comedy-savvy northern audience, you'll appreciate how this next information made my night even more difficult. The compere that evening was none other than future national treasure Peter Kay. Yeah. So you can imagine, this is late 90s Peter Kay. He is roller-coaling the shit out of this gig. And I'm just backstage waiting to go on. I'd never heard laughter like it before, or if I'm truly honest, since. Like, it was amazing. And I can't hear what he's saying because I'm in a little kitchen. I can just hear the laughter. I can hear sort of mumbled, oh, garlic bread. Like, just a little bit like, what's all that about? And I'm just here, just waiting to go on. Yeah, story, joke, anecdote, laugh. Yes, remember. And I walk on, the audience are lovely, and I started with what I reckon was my dad's best joke. Right. I said, so this man wakes up in hospital. And the surgeon comes over and says, right, we've got some good news, we've got some bad news. He says, what's the bad news? He said, there's been a very serious accident and your penis has severed off, it's gone. He said, that is not the funny bit, love. That's a really serious accident. I don't know who's hurt you, but you need to speak to a counsellor maybe or something like that. I've done 200 shows, nobody's ever laughed at that. It was a proper evil, like, So, he said, it's gone. He says, well, what's the good news? He says, you're in the only hospital in the country that does penis replacements. I'm an expert. We've got 3 on ice over here, but you better pick quick. Right? So, I don't know why he's putting him under pressure. Pick quick, you know, it's like a game show. He says, for £3 grand, you can have a little one. For £8 grand, you can have a medium-sized one. And for £10 grand, you can have a big stonker. He says, well, I better speak to my wife, really, because it's her it's going to affect at the end of the day. So the wife comes in, you have a good old chat about it. 10 minutes later, the surgeon comes back in. He says, have you made a decision? He says, we have. We've had a good chat, and we've decided we're going to get a new kitchen. That's a proper gag. Proper. That belongs to you now. That's yours. That's yours. That's from the communal pot of jokes in the sky. And thanks for laughing, Sheffield. Let me tell you, thank you. Because that night at the Frog and Bucket, they did not laugh. And that is a weird feeling when you go to tell a joke and you think it's funny, it gets nothing. Oh, gosh, your stomach lurches, your buttocks clench, your mouth runs dry. I got to the next joke, nothing. Got to me 7 minutes, that was confident in, that died. And when an audience can smell fear, you're dead in the water. There's no coming back. And I left at the end of the 10 minutes to the sound of my own feet. Walked past the other comics who were sort of looking in different directions, you know. And I went up to the top floor where I knew there was a quiet room with a little sofa in it, and I shut the door and I curled up on this sofa, feeling every bit the boy of 17, just thinking, well, maybe stand-up comedy's not for you, Jason. What was that? What happened there? I left a gap there for you to fill. I heard 3 people go, ah, and the others were like, fuck him, he'll be all right. I know we're on the telly, but this in here is not the telly. And I can hear you. I know you've not been an audience for a couple of years, but what? Right, let's try that again, right? Try that again and see if we get this right this time. Okay, here we go. So, I went upstairs and I sat in this room. Sat on this sofa. Whoa, let's just... You're spoiling this. Let's get back into character for a second. I sat there feeling all sorry for myself, thinking, oh, well, maybe stand-up comedy's not for you, Jace. Thank you. That was a little bit patronising at that volume. But we'll work on that. So sat there all night. Sat there all night. And I was waiting for the show to play out. I just wanted to get out the back door, get the bus home before anyone saw me. But before I did, footsteps come upstairs, the door opens, and who stood there? None other than my comedy hero, Peter Kay. And I look up at him, hope in my eyes. I think he'll have some encouraging words of wisdom to get me back on the comedy horse. And he spots me and he says, what the fuck was that about? I said, what do you mean you said that out there, son? What are you playing at? I said, Peter, I don't know what happened. I thought that surgeon joke was a really funny joke. He said, it is a funny joke, but I just told it before you came on. Oh, even now, the cringe that it leaves me with. Because what were the audience thinking? That's what I think to myself late at night. I think, what was the audience thinking? The only logical explanation for them that night was they were thinking, as they heard this joke a second time in as many minutes, they must have been thinking to themselves, this lad is so young and new at stand-up. He's just seen Peter Kay tell that joke. And he's thought to himself, that went well. I might tell it myself. And I got home that night, my dad had waited up for us. How did it go, lad? I said, Dad, it didn't go well, to be honest. He said, what are you talking about? That surgeon joke's a cracker. Gets a laugh every time. I said, not every time, the first time and then none other times. That's what we learned tonight. He said, what happened? I said, Peter Kay told it, Dad. Then he introduced me. I'd not heard him. I told the exact same joke. He went, oh, God, that's awful. I was wondering where I'd heard it. So it can go wrong. It can go wrong. But it was tough. It was tough over lockdown for a lot of people in the entertainment industry. There was no gigs, you know. So I sat around twiddling my thumbs for ages. And then out of nowhere, a mate of mine rang me up. This is like the June of 2020. He says, Jason, I've got a gig for you. I said, how have you got a gig? I've just delayed my whole tour. Is it illegal? Is it a speakeasy? Is it a Downing Street work event? Like, how have you managed to? Yeah. I said, how have you managed to put a gig on? He said, it's a drive-in comedy gig. I said, I'll do it. But what I should have said is, what's that? Because what it was a disaster, Sheffield. That's what it was. Picture this. This is North London, Brent Cross Shopping Centre in the car park of a John Lewis. 200 cars facing a stage the size of this, me talking into a microphone, the audience sat in their cars, listening to the gig via their radios, windows up due to social distancing measures. Now, I don't know if you spotted a flaw here, but I can't hear them. I don't know how this gig is going. But they've told the audience, instead of laughing, beep your horn instead. You know how scary one car is, beep. Oh, sorry, mate. Imagine 200 cars at the end of every joke. Beep, 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 beep. It was like being heckled by the M62. It was terrifying. I was like the most popular dogger that had ever existed. The other gigs we did were Zoom comedy gigs. Did anybody watch any comedy on Zoom? 6 of you. That is not the future, is it? But it was great to have. It was lovely just to have something to aim for. I did one every Thursday from my spare room, and I used comics from all over the world doing gigs from their spare rooms to people sat at home. But people on Zoom, they forget that not only can you see them, you can hear them. I've had some weird heckles in my time, but nothing beats in the middle of a Zoom comedy gig hearing some random angry dad giving it bed. You're like, huh? Well, I'm not Dylan's dad, am I? Bed! You get to the end of gigs end the same. This gig will finish in approximately 1 hour's time as promised. We will get to the end of the show. Hopefully, I'll have said something funny at the end. You'll still be giggling. You seem like nice people. You'll hopefully applaud as well. I'll leave. I can still hear you in the background. More! I'm not putting words in your mouth, but it has happened. And I'll leave. And then, you know, that's the way gigs end. You know that's the way gigs end. That's the way they always end. But Zoom comedy gigs do not end like that. You feel the same. Your endorphins are popping, adrenaline's running through your vein, and it just makes you feel like you're up here, you know, and you get to the end of the gig, you feel excited. Thanks, everybody. Cheers, thank you. Click, leave room, close browser, shut down computer. Within 3 seconds, if you're finishing a gig up here, you're suddenly just a man in your spare room staring at a computer screen, just in a smart shirt and boxer shorts contemplating your life. Very rarely am I in bed 3 minutes after I finish a gig, let me tell you. That's just wired lying there on the pillow. It freaks you out. I think that's what threw me a lot in that first lockdown, the timing of things. Everything changed. Everything was slower pace, you know. You weren't doing the things you normally do. I remember my wife would be in the bedroom panicking at 10 to 9 in the morning. Oh, my God, I'm going to be late for work. 2 minutes to 9, she shouted me from downstairs. I made it! That was a little joke she did every morning for 14 months. So I actually got a job. I ended up getting a job in lockdown. I became a volunteer driver in my little community, taking the elderly and the vulnerable to their appointments. Now, thank you. That's very nice of you to give me that applause, but I must stop you. I must stop you giving me a full applause there, because I know I was not volunteering for the right reasons. Even now, people come up to me in the street, "Oh, Jace, I heard what you did in lockdown, that volunteer driving. What a lovely thing you did. Well done, mate. That's great, that. Nice one. What a really nice thing to do, taking all those old ladies to their appointments." And inside, I know I'm a fraud, right? Because I wasn't volunteering for the correct reasons. You're supposed to be selfless, but I was volunteering for myself. I had a choice every morning. Do you want to teach your children geography or take Mavis? I'll take Mavis to the chiropodist. Let me tell you, I was out of there. I was out of there. These old ladies are getting 80, 90 years old, you know. The husbands had passed on. They were not seen or spoke to anybody for 7 or 8 weeks. They get in the back of my car with a little bag. "Oh, this is a nice car. Thanks so much for picking me up. It's really nice." I go, "Shh, shh, 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 shh." "This is my time, Barbara." Aren't you glad you didn't all applaud now? What I realised during lockdown is that relationships are not designed for 24/7. Is that fair to say? Yeah. I think a lot of people struggle. Give me a cheer if you're in a relationship. Yeah. Give me a cheer if you agree with that statement. "No," says one man. "No!" I don't know what he's talking about, love. Oh. I've loved it. Fair play, mate. I understand what's going on there. Yeah, I know, mate. I know. I'm glad to help. Hey, I'm glad. "We'll see," she says. "We'll see." But it was tough. All that whole time was tough for people, for a lot of people. You know, I've asked on tour, I've asked online, what was the one thing that was suddenly annoying you about your partner that you'd never noticed before? You know what the number one answer was? Breathing! Yeah, bang on, love! Get over there to her, want her on the telly. She's over there. Can you get over there? Have you not got enough wire? Here he comes. Come on. Let's have it. Shout breathing again, madam. Breathing! Breathing, yes! You're right. That's how we do it. Breathing, you're right. Did you realise you've been breathing wrong all these years, lads? Just sat there minding your own business. Have you got to breathe like that? What, in and out, you psychopath? What are you talking about? Trying to stay alive over here. You just notice these things about each other that you've never noticed before. Me and my wife don't really argue, you know. She's got a proper job. She's exec TV producer. She makes great telly. Black Mirror for Netflix, The Split for BBC. She's in charge of millions of pounds of other people's money. She's in charge of hundreds of people. Suddenly, all that was taken away. Me and her ended up in an argument about whether a duvet was perfectly square or ever so slightly rectangular. Full on 3 hours right in each other's face. Measuring tape came out from the shed. I had to go for a walk to calm down. She called me a king-sized prick out the window in front of the neighbours. It was not a compliment in that context. It is rectangle, by the way. I know you're thinking it. It's rectangle. Your double, that's a square. All the others, they're rectangles. I realise that's not a joke, but it just stopped me getting twittered to death on the way home. People telling me that I didn't tell them what it was. So many weird moments, so many things. This is what I learned, and I want to pass this on to you now, okay? This is information from me to you. Anybody who lives with a man, let me tell you this, okay? Men are not as bright as you think we are. We're not thick, our brains don't work the same thing. People are obsessed with men and women being the same. We're still allowed to be different, okay? And there's a lot of things that are different between us. We don't see the things that you see, ladies. We don't notice the things. We're trying our best. If you have a job in the house that needs doing that you do not want to do yourself, please give that man full and clear instruction. Treat him like he's learning English as a second language. Don't give him clues, don't give him hints. Stop looking at it and tutting. Just tell him. And when he finishes a game of FIFA, he'll do it, right? I tell you, stop leaving shit at the bottom of the stairs thinking we'll see it and take it up, because we won't. Our fathers didn't, our grandfathers didn't, we won't. We just see it on the foot, we step over it, someone's going to break their neck on that. No, we don't even register that it's a job that needs doing. I can't be the only man in this room who stepped over a basket of laundry at the bottom of the stairs, got to his bedroom, opened his wardrobe and gone, I've got nothing to wear here. We just don't connect the dots. I do the bins in our house, that's my job, right? And I've done a bit of research. 82% of heterosexual relationships, the man does the bins in that household. Give me a cheer if you do the bins in your house. Okay, let me tell you the reason that's become a man's job. Because you can't mess it up. You can't mess it up, that's why it's been given to us. The worst that can become is still a bag of shit. That's why we have that job. But if I don't empty those bins in what my wife deems an acceptable amount of time, do you think she does it herself? No. Do you think she lets me know about it? No. What she does is she starts to pile stuff on top of the bin. Just over a couple of days, like a passive-aggressive Jenga, just up the side of the kitchen wall. And she's thinking, he'll see this and he'll realise, bin needs doing. But as every man in this room knows, that's not how our brain is wired. We see that situation, we think to ourselves, we're going to need a bigger bin here. We are a 2-bin family, I've been saying it for years. I do the washing up, that's become my job, and I like it. I like the washing up. After the arguments with the kids over dinner, it's a little bit of me time, you know. And I've got a system, I've got my system, the way I like to wash up. I use red hot water, no cold, loads of fairy liquid. I like loads of bubbles, right, here. And then I leave it to soak, right, a little bit. Just, look, I know this can divide a room. I can see I've lost some of you already, but I can see some fellas looking at me like, solidarity, Jace. That's been passed on from father to son for generations. I leave it to soak for a little bit, couple of hours, don't we, lads? 2-3 hours. Then we go to bed, don't we? Go to bed, have a little... And that's where the real magic happens, because in the morning, 9 times out of 10, that's been finished and put away. And that's been working for years. But suddenly, it was getting looked at, scrutinised. These jobs that I've been doing for ages was suddenly a big problem. I don't mention anything in our house that I don't agree with. And there has actually been a thing that's been annoying me about my wife for a few years, right? But I've never mentioned it. I've been busy, and I've been busy. But all of a sudden, I've not been busy. And this certain day, my brain went, let's say it today, see what happens. Now, it involves tea, making of tea. And you're going to agree with me for a part of this story. There's a discrepancy in our house. When I make a cup of tea, I will 100% of the time also make my wife a cup of tea. I make all the adults in the house a cup of tea. That's just the way I've been brought up, right? I don't even ask her if she wants one. I just make sure that she's got one. I go up to her office, pop it on the desk. I don't ever wait for a thank you. Off I go. My wife, however, the first time I realise she's made herself a cup of tea is when she's walking past the living room door with it. Yes. She's what's known as a solo brewer. Have we got any solo brewers in the room? Feel free to grass them up. We got any solo brewers? Yeah. Solo brewers knocking around the room. It's anti-British, that's what it is. Now, my wife, there, with a 1 cup of tea. She comes into the living room this particular day. I'm just sat in the corner, just parched. Right? And I decided to mention it this particular day. I don't know why, but my brain's just gone. Let's say it today. This is how I started. That is the worst way to start an argument. So what's up with you? I said, I've just noticed that about you, you know. When we make tea in this house, when I make one, I always make you one. You, however, you only ever make yourself one. You don't even ask me whether I want one or not. She slowly put a cup of tea down. She looked over at me. She said, oh, I'm glad you brought this up. I said, what do you mean? She said, I've got 5-minute break between meetings. I'm stressed out, you know. I come down here to make myself a cup of tea. I come in here and you've got a face on you, sulking. because I've not also made you a cup of tea. I said, well, you could just make me one. She says, I don't want to make you a cup of tea. She said, you don't drink as much tea as me. I drink 10 to 12 cups a day. You drink 1 or 2, and even then you only drink it because you've seen other adults do it and you think that's what you should do. You don't even really like tea. You'd rather have a glass of Vimto, and I'm not making you one of them. She said, and another thing. I was like, how has this happened here? This was my argument. She said, the odd time I do make you a cup of tea, you only ever drink half a cup. And I'm always finding half a cup of teas all over this bastard house. I said, I'm sorry. So she cracks on with her day, she goes back to work. A few hours later, she comes downstairs, pops her head in the living room, she says, hey, I'm about to make a cup of tea. Do you want one? I was like, oh my God, something I've said has fixed something. I said, yes, I do actually, thank you so much. I actually didn't want a glass of Vimto, but I thought it's not the time. You gotta pick your battles. Now, what I didn't realise, Sheffield, was she'd formulated a little prank in her mind, and off she went to the kitchen, she popped the kettle on, and she made me half a cup of tea, that's right. I actually heard some women finish my sentence off for me there. That's how quick women's brains are. They're already a step ahead. There's still blokes looking at me going, what's the twist? What's the twist here? Let's go. She made me half a cup of tea. And she'd come in, all brimming with smugness. Passed it to me. I'm still in this moment of like, oh, thank you very much. And off she went to work, giggling to herself. And I watched it for about 20 seconds or so before eventually just leaving it on the side. I'm not drinking it. I will not be patronised in my own house. And that evening when she found it on the side, oh, she was livid. I heard her shout at me, why didn't you drink your half a cup of tea? You only ever drink half a cup of tea. I said, I like the top half, smart ass. This is where we got to. This is what we were forced into with that bloody stressful lockdown. Do you remember that time in our lives when we were allowed out for an hour's exercise a day? Do you remember that? Well, we lived through that. We were allowed out for 1 hour's exercise a day. And half the country were living only an hour, and the other half, is it compulsory? Split right down the middle. And I had a mate come up to us, right? Well, he's actually my brother's friend from the gym. I was walking through my village, I had my little mask on, right? And he's like in his early 20s, this lad, Dean, he's called. And he spots me with my mask on, right? And he's like shouting at me, oh, Jace, this is like 2 or 3 months in. He's like, Jace, you all right, mate? How's it going? I said, all right, Dean. And he comes over. But as he comes over, I can see a little smirk go across his face as he spots my mask, right? I'm not asked if he's got one on or not, but he's already sort of judging me a little bit, you know, like I'm a sheep following the crowd. And he looks at me and he goes, all right, mate, what you wearing that for? I said, oh my God, Dean, there's been a pandemic, it's been on the news. That's why all the shops are shut. What a bloody way to find out. He did not appreciate my sarcasm. He said, no, I know about that, but what are you wearing a mask for? They don't even do anything. And I gave him my honest answer. I thought it then, and I still think it now. I've never said it on telly before, because I know I'll get shit from both sides. I'm prepared to tell you tonight, this is what I think. He said, why are you wearing a mask? And I gave him my honest answer when I said, I don't know. I don't know. I've got a basic grasp for GCSE science. I don't know. I've no idea. I just weighed it up. Surgeons wear them. They seem bright. That'll do for me. He said, they don't even do anything. They don't even do anything. I said, I don't know. He said, all right, explain this then. How come with a mask on, you can't get COVID, but you can still smell farts? I thought, hang on a minute here. He's only cracked the case wide open for me, you know. I thought, Somebody needs to let Dean into one of those press conferences quickly. Remember at the end when they used to open up for questions from the press or the public like that? The young man in the pyjamas. Thank you. Dean, total fitness. The thing is, Whitty, how come a mask on you can't get COVID yet, but you can still smell farts and that? And all in the press and the experts would be like, it's a good question, actually, it's good. It's about time someone was tackling the big issues, you know. But Sir Chris Whitty, to be fair to him, he was absolutely unflappable, wasn't he? It was almost like he was used to talking to bellends every day. He wouldn't even take his eyes off him. He'd be like, next slide, please. COVID versus farts, the facts for and against. As you can see here, Dean, the COVID particle is much bigger than the fart particle. The farticle, as we call it in the medical community. The farticle, I don't know. More people need to say it. I've no idea. There's loads of things I don't know about. Even now, no one's explained to me how COVID can get you when you're stood up in a restaurant but not sat down when you're having your dinner. No one told us. We just did it. Madness. I was on a flight home last year, masked the whole 5 hours, apart from when the snack trolley came out, you could take it off and have something to eat. I thought, what is this? The politest virus known to man? Like it's just flying around. Get that guy, he's not got a mask on. Hey lads, come on, he's having his bloody Pringles there. Let's have a bit of decorum, we're not the common cold. The reason I think masks were so contentious in this country is because they dropped the ball early on. You know, we were one of the last countries on earth to make masks compulsory in situations where humans gather together. One of the last on earth. I'll give you a quick recap. Let's go back to the beginning of 2020. Here we go. January, we were sat at home minding our own business. Something was going on in China, but we ignored it because we thought to ourselves, well, we get nothing from China in this country. We'll be fine. I get everything from the Amazon. I'm cool. I'm all right. Little dad joke for you there. But they had masks on straight away, the Chinese. They don't mess around. Italy got it bad in the February. Masks straight away. March, we went into lockdown. Masks were still not in the conversation. End of March, Australia, masks were... New Zealand went into lockdown, they closed the borders, remember that? Nobody gets in or out of our country. And we looked over with envy. Oh, and if only we were a little island surrounded by water, we could do that as well. But no, our Prime Minister was still going around hospitals, shaking hands with people with COVID and licking handrails like a fucking bellend. And then April, he got COVID. How? I don't know, it's a mystery. May, we came out of lockdown for a little bit, all of us apart from Leicester, but we said nothing because we're not Leicester, so fuck 'em. That's what we did. Geographical tribalism kicked off. Well, you better sit over there, Leicester, and have a little think about what you did. The madness of the tier system in this country. The madness of it. They managed to convince 70 million people that COVID knows your fucking postcode. And we just... You know, well, who knows if you're having your dinner or not, does it? 3 streets away, dogs could get haircuts and you weren't allowed. June, fine. July. Somebody popped on the telly in July. They said, right, we've been having a look at these masks, right? We've noticed that the rest of the world are wearing them, including the tribes of Papua New Guinea. The experts tell us that masks save lives, so you lot, you better start wearing masks, okay? And you better start wearing them a week on Friday, okay? That's right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. We're going to start saving some lives around here, people. But not for 10 days, so don't rush into it or anything. Governments all over the world did this. Tuesday at 2, new rules. All aboard, Sunday at 12. I don't know how you run your house, but if something is life-saving, I implement it immediately. Imagine you did that. Oh, guys, stop playing the road, it's dangerous. All right, you can have 3 days to get used to the idea, and then... Get your finger out of that plug socket. All right, have an hour. There's a fork. Fill your boots, but then no more. And look, I was a mask wearer. I wore one all the time. I was supposed to wear one. But even us mask wearers, we were hypocrites, right? We didn't follow every single rule to the letter. You can't look me in the eye and tell me you followed the rule that said every time you wore a mask, it had to come fresh out of a box that morning. No, you were finding them in coat pockets 3 weeks later. Rushing into the garage, looking on the floor of your car. There was one here the other day. Oh, it snapped. Just wrap it around your ear and hold it in place. And be all right. 2 Twixes in a coat. Yes, it's essential, dickhead. Just give it to me. Thank you for your service, key worker. Thank you. The vaccine, I was naive about the vaccine. I did not see people getting upset about a vaccine. I just thought people would be like, oh, it's here. But no, people getting upset about it. An uncle of mine, alcoholic, he's drank every day since he was 13, suddenly really bothered about what was going into his system. It was incredible. It's like a new man. You better watch that, Jace. You don't even know what's in it. I was like, I've been giving my children Calpol for 12 years. I've never once looked at the ingredients on the back of that bottle. That pink magic could come straight out of a pig's arse, right into her mouth. But her ear rate's gone and she's asleep. Thanks, science. That'll do for me. Well, look, I understand. People have got different opinions on those huge issues. But I think we can all agree that some of the language used was out of order, okay? Especially right at the beginning. All our lives as human beings, we've been told that we're unique, we're special, we're one of a kind, there's no one else on earth like you. And out of nowhere, somebody popped on telly, said, right, you're all one of 3. You're either frontline, key worker, or, and what a way to find out, you are non-essential. Wow. Wow, that was the best phrase you could come up with, was it, to describe the bulk of society? Non-essential, eh? What was fucking useless? Taken, was it? I'm a comedian. How can comedians be non-essential? All these years you've been saying laughter's the best medicine, you fucking liars! Non-essential. Where are my non-essential brothers and sisters? Got some here on the front row. Oh, I've got a bank of non-essentials. So what job do you do, sir? A technical architect. So it's non-essential. What sort of stuff do you draw and make? Like, oh, so you make software, but you still call yourself an architect, yeah? Whatever says on your door, sir, that's what you are. That's cool. What about frontline? We got any frontline staff in? We've got one right in the middle there. Can you see this lady here? We go. Put your hand up there, yo. What's your name, madam? Lucy. Lucy, what do you do? I'm a nurse. A nurse! Proper frontline. Don't applaud her. She's had enough applause, this lady. Every bastard Thursday. She's fine. We made her rainbows and sent her a pay rise. She's fine. Tough job, that. My mum's a nurse. I know how hard that job is. But not everybody in a hospital gets on. We think, us laymen, we think we do, don't we? You walk past a hospital, you think, oh, it's just a building full of heroes just getting on, high-fiving and shagging in cupboards after surgeries. That's what we think. That's what we think. I watch a lot of Grey's Anatomy. But it's true, isn't it? Lucy, not everybody gets on in the hospital. Not everybody respects everybody else's job. And this is how I found out. Quite dramatic fashion. On the last tour, we were at Newcastle. 3 nights, third night, didn't quite sell out, had about 100 seats left, so we gave them out to local hospital and frontline crew and carers and emergency services. It was packed, it was fun. 25 minutes in, one of the most shocking things happened I've ever witnessed doing this job. A woman, 5 or 6 rows back, had a heart attack. Show was over, this woman's gone down. Thankfully, she survived, I think, because she could not have picked a better night to a bad one. She was surrounded by heroes on a freebie. It was amazing, right? The best kind. 2 rows behind her, a woman leapt up. Turns out she was a paramedic. She come running round, popped her on her back there, clearing her airways, started doing all the things that you do to save someone's life. It was a really humbling moment to witness and watch. And while we were watching this, in the corner of my eye, I see this fella running down the aisle. I say running, he's mid-50s. So, he's coming down the aisle like... he's coming around there, ankles clicking like fuck. And he gets to me. He goes, Jason, I can help. I'm a doctor. And we all go, oh, thank God, because in our little layman's brains, well, a doctor, they've done the most studying, haven't they? Thank God a doctor is here to save the day. But the paramedic, she does not think this, not in an emergency situation. She looks up, she goes, what kind of doctor? He goes, GP. She went, fuck off, pal. Never seen anything like it. What are you going to do? Google it. I'll get to ring and book an appointment at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, shall I? Is that the best thing to do? I love you, doctors. I love you. Any doctors in? A couple of yous there, look at that. It's nice to be in the same room as one, isn't it? So nice. It's like the old days. So we've got frontline, what about key workers? We've got the key workers. Where are the key workers? Yeah, we've got some key workers. What do you do, fella? A teacher! Yes to the teachers. Where are my teacher friends? Give us a cheer, teachers. Teaching assistants, everybody involved in education. Let me tell you, teachers, right now. When you came back to work that first time, I'm not too proud to say that I cried. I was in the playground with my kids, 6:15, just waiting for you. It's not too early, go and let the caretaker in. And as each one of you came up the path, I applauded you. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you, thank you. Never leave again, thank you. I mean, not like that, of course, like that, because I had champagne in her hand. I was so happy to see you, fella. I really was. Who homeschooled their own children? What a ridiculous rule that was. What a stupid idea. Of all the stupid things that have happened, why would you leave us in charge of our own children during the day? Are you mad? I'll tell you what, there's going to be a fair few thickos over the next few years. I did not enjoy the homeschooling situation. And look, teachers, what's your name, fella? Greg, nice to meet you, Greg. What age group do you teach? Secondary, right, so the ones that can have you in a fight, yeah. That's proper teaching. I don't know how you do it, Greg, I don't, mate. But you know what, Greg, and I speak on behalf of all the homeschooling parents in this room, obviously, we were only doing your job for you for a few months, you know? And I wouldn't want to patronise you with saying that maybe I learnt some stuff that when we did it, that might be able to help you guys in your profession, you know? But, you know, just fresh eyes, innit? Fresh eyes. Nobody's doubting your intelligence, your passion, the patience, the fact that you're shaping our children's lives for a better future. But I think I do speak on behalf of all the homeschooling parents when I say, we don't know what you're doing to drag it out to R3. I mean, try as we might, we were done for 11:10 in our house. We were on the trampoline by past, Greg. So look, I'm not saying any way is better. Just saying it's worth thinking about, certainly worth slipping into a discussion at one of your next teacher training days, okay? All right. Teachers have my absolute respect, I'm telling you that. That was hard going. I've never felt as thick in all of my life as when I was homeschooling my own children. And I once got knocked out of Tipping Point by Debbie McGee, so I've had my low moments. Yeah. We had a few truancy problems in our house as well early on, that was hard, but they kept finding me. They kept finding me every time. At least you've got a staff room, Greg. I had to go and cry in the toilet. Where do I cry? I remember looking at this sheet, right? My daughter's waiting for me, she's 11 years old, right? And this sheet said, Year 6 maths. And I'm looking at this sheet for ages. And my daughter's like waiting for help. My face is obviously like quizzical, but in my brain it's just, you know that monkey with the brass? I'm looking at this sheet, and then I think to myself, hang on a minute, James, but you were in year 6. You would have done maths. Where's it gone? And then you realise quite a sad truth, which is at some point in your adult life, your brain has just had a clear out, hasn't it? The foreman of your brain's come down to the warehouse of your mind to have a stock check, see what's being used and utilised on a regular basis. What's that on that shelf there, lads? That's photosynthesis, sir. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. We don't need that anymore, do we? What's behind it? Pythagoras, get rid of that. And, well, you may as well take Romans and Oxbow Lakes while you're going. Off you pop. There you go. Sir, I've got all the lyrics to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme tune. Put them in the vault. We don't know when we're going to need them. Put them in. Don't drop a word. Put them on that top shelf there with songs from adverts and registration plates of cars you don't own anymore. That's the sort of shit we need to remember forever. That's the sort of stuff we need to remember forever. It's all gone. It's all gone. I remember primary school quite fondly, actually. I had an amazing teacher, and that's the thing with people like you, Greg. You know, you will become someone's favourite teacher forever. They'll remember you forever, long after you've forgot them. And I have that with some of my teachers. I had a teacher called Mr. McGarry. He was from Derry in Northern Ireland. Right? And I think that's the reason that Northern Irish accent is one of my most favourite accents in the world. I love it. It just makes me feel warm inside because of this wonderful teacher. But let me tell you, when he first joined our school, first 6 weeks, nobody understood a word this poor guy was saying. And we were inner city Manchester school. We'd heard lots of different accents from all over the world. Yet this guy, just from over the water, not a clue. In the classroom, it was fine. But somebody had the bright idea of letting him do an assembly where he was in charge of telling us what things that we needed to pack for a school trip that weekend. First 4 or 5 items were fine. Then he got to one, he went, red, and then you need to pack a towel. Just 800 blank faces, like... Pack a towel, you need to pack a towel. Pack a towel, son, you need to pack a towel. Can you say it slower? Pack. Yeah. Towel, pack a towel. Even some of the teachers, like, I've got the list, I don't know what he's bloody saying here, like. And then he was getting more angry, like, the more we weren't understanding. Pack a towel here, hey. If you have a shower, you need a towel. A what? A shower. A shower. Is he having a stroke or something? I don't know what's happening here. A shower, a towel, eh? A towel, a towel, a towel, a towel, a towel. Whoa, we're only 8. Mr. Coffee, lad. 150 kids went on that trip. Not one of us brought a towel. It was chaos. I remember assemblies, though. They were a lovely time. What a great way to start the day. Sat on the floor with your mates, singing your little heart out. Lovely. And it makes me think now, in this modern day, when we're thinking about people's mental health, especially in the workplace, why haven't people implemented this at work? How good would it be if you got into work Monday morning and your boss just met you at the door? Hey, everybody, back room, carpet time. You go in. All your colleagues are sat on the floor with their legs crossed like that. I think he's having a nervous breakdown, Gene. Your boss comes in a few minutes later with a little guitar. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. Hey, that was sounding good, you know. You know what's amazing there? From the second I stopped singing and you joined in, not a second's hesitation. Some of you have not sang that song for 20, 30, 40 odd years, and yet there it was, front and centre, locked and loaded, ready to go at a moment's notice. Algebra, nowhere to be fucking seen! This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. You're actually getting better! No rehearsal, nothing! Even you're thinking, we should tour this, you know? my favourite thought at this moment, if there's anybody in here not born and bred in Britain, they're thinking, what just happened there? What's happened here? Is this some sort of cult? How do you all know this guy's songs? Why are those songs still in your head? Why? And it doesn't matter, you're all thinking of your ones now, Cauliflower Fluffy, all things bright and beautiful. All those songs floating around, Come by Armalord, they're all floating around your head now. Why are they still in your head? One very simple reason. Every single one of them, bar none, is an absolute tune. You don't last that many years in the hearts and minds of strangers without being a total tune. And that makes me think, how come no modern day DJ has remixed them into club anthems? How good would that be? Imagine you come out of here tonight and you're walking through the hustle bustle of Sheffield midweek. And as you go through, as you're walking through there, you walk past Sheffield's premier nightclub venue. Queues around the block, bouncers, people excited to get inside. One of your mates, one of your colleagues, your loved ones, says, we're going for a laugh, for old time's sake. You're like, no, we don't know any of the music, we're all modern stuff, we'll feel old. And then a song comes from the dance floor. Hundreds of people inside, and you call your friends back. No, you're right, we should go in. Listen, it's the ultimate song from when you were 9 years old. Listen. Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna. Sing Hosanna to the King of Kings. I'll tell you what, I'm thinking of releasing this album in bloody self. Have a look in the shops later this year. Jason Manford's now, that's what I call assembly bangers. That's gonna fly. Sheffield, that's 9:45. As promised. Take care. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks for being great sports. So pleased we did it here. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks, folks. Good night. Forgot my water. All right, let's do it. We'll do a bit more, aren't we? Hey, we're here now. Yeah. Let's whack it all out there. That's why not. Thanks very much. Oh, it's weird, the encore, isn't it? I often think about it on tour. How weird the encore is as just a thing, as an entity that happens, right? Obviously, my job here in the business of show, it's a compliment. It means that you've had a nice time and I've enjoyed your company, and that's why you get one. But imagine how annoying it would be at your work. Imagine, 5 o'clock means 5 o'clock, doesn't it, where you work? 3:30, Greg. But the rest of us, 5 o'clock. He's got marking to do, stop it. He's got bloody marking to do, I'm sure I'll tell you about it. Imagine you got to the end of your day, 5 o'clock, you're packing your stuff up, and you're like, woo! No! Me? Woo! Go on then, I'll do another 5 minutes. You know what's weird about the time that we've all been through over these last couple of years? What's really odd about it is it'll be something we remember and talk about forever, for the rest of our lives. Right? I call it recent nostalgia because it's something that sort of feels like it happened a long time ago, but also it's still something that's going on right now, you know? And in years to come, 20, 30, 40 plus years to come, your great-grandchildren, your grandchildren, they'll come up to you. Nana, Grandad, tell us about the great lockdowns of 2020. And you'll go, oh, I will, yeah, I will have a sit there. Not there, that's too close. Oh, sorry, I've still got a bit of PTSD there from the social distancing. Well, we get up every morning and pretend to do PE with Joe. And after a quick breakfast pint, off we'd go. Off we'd go, and we'd queue up outside the supermarket like it was a Ministry of Sound. It was bouncers at Tesco. It was mad. They tried to implement a one-way system in many of the supermarkets, but people's shopping habits, they were hardwired. We couldn't change our ways. They put arrows on the floor. Every so often you see a fella crying because he'd missed milk. He'd have to go all the way around like he missed a junction on the motorway. It was chaos, really. Then we come home, we've been making banana bread, every one of us. We made banana bread. What's banana bread, Grandad? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows where the idea came from or where it went. We all just made it, and then one day, none of us ever made it ever again. It's weird. Weird. And once a fortnight, we'd go out foraging for pasta and flour. I hear talk of self-raising in the next village. Which one was your favourite lockdown, Grandad? First one. You'd never seen weather like it, kid. Beautiful, every day it was beautiful. And the first lockdown was encouraging, actually. It made me feel good about humans because we were there for each other. We supported each other, made sure that our vulnerable and elderly were looked after. You know, we were encouraged to make sure that they had enough food and provisions to get through the tough times ahead. And towards the end of the last lockdown, we were encouraged to check on our neighbours to make sure they didn't have more than 6 people in the garden having a party. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for coming out tonight. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I promise you a rave. Here we go. Come on.